How are you? Welcome to our lesson today. In this particular lesson, we shall learn about gaseous exchange in the alveolus or alveoli and the blood capillaries. Okay, so for us to understand better, we have to focus on this diagram. Good. So let us focus on this diagram. So gaseous exchange, after you breathe in and out, okay, the air gets from the nostril, it goes through the trachea, then to the bronchus or bronchi, because there are two, and then from the bronchi, where does the air also go? The air also moves into the alveoli, the bronchioles, then the alveoli, and in the alveoli, gaseous exchange occur. Now, what are some of the adaptations of the alveoli that facilitate gaseous exchange? We covered this in our previous lessons. What are some of the features that you are able to see in this diagram? Good. I hope you might have said that there is it is thin-walled. The alveoli are thin-walled. This one is to facilitate or to reduce the distance traveled by the respiratory gases. Probably you might have said that inside this particular alveolus, inside the alveolus, you have said that there is a fluid. There is a fluid, so it is actually lined with, or it is moist. Why do you think it is moist? To dissolve the respiratory gases, so that the respiratory gases can dissolve. They can dissolve, okay, and diffuse between the alveolus and the blood. Is it clear? Now, how does gaseous exchange occur? So gaseous exchange refers to the movement of oxygen to the blood and carbon dioxide, okay? That is the movement of oxygen. This is the oxygen into the blood. Okay. The movement of oxygen into the blood. Movement of this oxygen into the blood, and the carbon dioxide from the blood into the alveolus. This is what we refer to as gaseous exchange. While the movement of air rich in oxygen into the lungs and out of the lungs is what we said is called ventilation. Okay? Now, how does gaseous exchange occur in the alveolus? Gaseous exchange occurs due to existence of concentration gradient. That is, the oxygen in the air in the alveolus, this oxygen is highly concentrated than in the blood. Okay? Therefore, the oxygen being highly concentrated in air than in blood, it will move into, it first of all dissolve in the film of fluids or in the moist surface of the alveolus. Okay? Then this is the moist surface of the alveolus. Okay? Then dissolve into the moist surface, then diffuses into the blood capillaries. So I've said because oxygen is highly concentrated in the air in the alveolus, it tends to move, to dissolve into the fluids which line the surface of the alveolus and diffuse into the blood capillaries alongside concentration gradient. What about carbon dioxide? On the other hand, carbon dioxide is highly concentrated in blood here than the air. Therefore, it tends to move or diffuse from the red blood cells or from the blood into the air which is found in the alveolus. Okay? Good. So when the oxygen moves into the blood, it usually combines with hemoglobin. It combines with hemoglobin, which is found in the red blood cells. Okay? So oxygen combines with hemoglobin to form oxyhemoglobin. This makes the red blood cells to appear red, bright red. But the red blood cells which have got less oxygen, as you can see here, are usually purplish or bluish in color, because the hemoglobin lacks oxygen. So when the oxygen diffuses into these red blood cells, they will change the color and they become bright red, as you are able to see here towards the end. Okay, so this end up making the blood to be oxygenated. Good. Now, what have we learned about gaseous exchange? We have said gaseous exchange in the alveolus occurs due to existence of concentration gradient. Okay, that is, in the blood or in the lungs, there is high oxygen concentration than in the blood. Therefore, oxygen, because it is highly concentrated in the air in the lung, okay, will dissolve in the moisture which lines the alveolus, okay, and then diffuses into the blood capillaries, okay, where it will combine with the red blood cells, the hemoglobin of the red blood cells, and be transported. On the other hand, carbon 4 oxide is highly concentrated in blood than in the air. Okay? Therefore, it diffuses from the blood into the air, which is found in the alveolus. Sasa, during exhalation, the carbon 4 oxide will be released into the atmosphere. Okay? So this actually is the events occurring during gaseous exchange in the alveolus. So let us now go to the literature. What does our literature tell us? So the information is that the walls of the alveoli and capillaries are very thin and are close contact to each other. Okay. Blood from the tissue has got high concentration of carbon 4 oxide. They have got higher concentration of carbon 4 oxide, okay, and very little oxygen compared to the air. So the air in here has got a lot of oxygen but very little carbon 4 oxide. Okay. Good. Okay. So, because of that difference in concentration, the concentration gradient favors diffusion of carbon 4 oxide into the alveolus. So, because carbon 4 oxide is highly concentrated in the blood than the alveolus, it moves into the alveolus. By which process? By diffusion. Is it clear? Oxygen, on the other hand, because it is highly concentrated in air in the alveolus than in the blood, it moves in by which process? By diffusion again. Okay? And this is how gaseous exchange occurs in the alveolus. So, questions? Name the process through which carbon 4 oxide and oxygen diffuses across the walls of the alveolus. The process is diffusion. Explain why oxygen is capable of diffusing into the blood and carbon 4 oxide diffusing into the alveolus during gaseous exchange. This is because oxygen is highly concentrated in the air than in the blood. Therefore, it moves into the blood by diffusion alongside concentration gradient. On the other hand, carbon 4 oxide is highly concentrated in the blood than the air. Therefore, it moves in here by diffusion. Okay? Good. So far, so good. That marks the end of our discussion. Now, what is the percentage of the components of air after inhalation and exhalation? So when we compare the percentage of oxygen during inspired air that has been inhaled, the air contains about 21%. But the air that has been given out, it contains about 16%. Okay? Why do you think is the difference, the decrease in oxygen concentration? Because some of the oxygen has the expired air, that is the air that has been exhaled, has got less oxygen because some of the oxygen has been dissolved or has moved into the blood. On the other hand, the concentration of carbon dioxide in air is 0.03. But when the air is from the lungs, the concentration of carbon dioxide is 4. Why do you think that is the case? This is because the air from the lungs contains a lot of carbon dioxide from the body. That's why its percentage is higher than the air that was initially, or than the carbon dioxide that was initially in the air. Explain why percentage of nitrogen remains 79%, both in inhaled air and exhaled air. Yes? Because nitrogen is not used up during gaseous exchange. Nitrogen does not move into or outside. It actually does not pass across the alveolus. Is it clear? And explain why the air that has got or that moves into the lungs has got little amount of moisture than the air that comes out. The air that comes is saturated with moisture. You can say because the lining of the respiratory surface is moist. Okay? That's why the air is saturated with moisture. Is it clear? Good. So, what gas moves into the lungs or pass across the alveolar wall into the blood capillaries during gaseous exchange? Answer is oxygen. And the gas which passes across the walls of capillaries from the blood capillaries to the alveolus, the gas is carbon dioxide. Good. So, we shall stop there for today. Have a nice time. Let us meet in the next session. Bye-bye.